This story is called The Foolish Chauffeur, and I found it in a book by Sarah Cohen Bryant that was published in 1912. I'm telling you that just because you can picture in your mind the kind of automobiles that were available and the kind of family that owned an automobile back in 1912. It's a bit different from today. One day, the new chauffeur took the car out of the garage and drove it to the lady's door. After the lady and her children got in, the chauffeur said, "The car is in very bad shape, madam." "Oh," said the lady, "I'm very sorry to hear that. It seemed all right when Mr. Brown drove it last week. What's the matter, Hutchins?" "The engine is in very bad shape. 'Twill need a complete overhaul." The lady was distressed to hear that anything was wrong with the engine, for she did not want anything to happen to their beautiful car, which they enjoyed so much. But she closed the door and said, "We will go to the farm, please." The chauffeur started the engine, and it said, "Spit, bang, poof." Then it said puffily, "I'll do my best, I'll do my best, I'll do my best, I'll do my best." And when they got out onto the smooth road, the engine said clankety, 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 clankety. "Why, Hutchins, how bad it sounds. It sounds almost as if the engine were dry. Did you put in plenty of oil?" "Yes, madam. I filled it up just before starting." The lady felt sad to hear the engine go clankety, clankety, and the children felt sad too. They were very fond of their car, which gave them such good times. They knew Father had paid a great deal of money for it. Pretty soon, they came to a slight hill on the road to the farm 15 miles away. It was not the worst hill on the way. Usually, the car hummed and skimmed up it like a big bird. But this time, the engine began to puff like a fat old man before they were halfway up. The children thought it said, "Freda can't, Freda can't, Freda can't, Freda can't." Then it almost stops. "Gas can't do it, can't do it, can't do it, can't do it." Then the engine seemed to catch its breath and said, "Hard going, hard going. That is better, that is better, that is better, that is better." At last, they managed to creep over the top of the hill. The poor engine began to crank out again, clankety, 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 clankety. This car never gave trouble on a hill before. "Hutchins, are you sure you filled the oil tank?" "Certainly, madam." "Are the grease cups full?" "Certainly, madam." He seemed so much annoyed that the lady did not like to ask any more. What a time they had going to the farm. On every hill, the engine coughed and sputtered, said, "Freda can't, Freda can't, Freda can't." Then it would almost stop and gas, "Can't do it, can't do it, can't do it." The chauffeur looked crosser and crosser. He jammed the shift into low speed, and he looked as if he would like to break it. Then he said, "The old car needs an overhauling, ma'am." The lady thought he said old car, but that was just his way of saying whole car. And then they would jolt and jerk over the top of the hill. The engine would complain and grumble all along the smooth road, clankety, clankety, clankety. It grew worse on every hill all along the way, until at last it seemed as if they could not even crawl up the incline of the farm driveway. The engine choked and sputtered, gasped, finally stopped dead just at the barn door. "Shall I take the car to the garage in the village, Mum? Have the engine taken down? You'll not be able to go home in her." The lady thought a moment, and then she said, No, Hutchins, you need not take the car just now. I want to think it over a little. I'm going to let you go back to the city by train, leave the car here, and if I need you, I will telephone for you. Very well, madam. He went off to the train. Then the lady called John, the man about the farm, and she said, John, I want you to look at that oil tank. The engine sounds dry to me. Yes, sir, said John, and he opened the hood, and he unscrewed the cap, and he looked in. I cannot see very well. It does not seem to be very high. Take the gallon can of engine oil and put some in, please. So John got the gallon can and poured oil into the oil tank. Well, he poured and he poured and he poured every drop of that gallon into the tank. Why, John, a gallon is all it holds when it is perfectly empty. It must have been absolutely dry. No wonder the poor engine said clankety, clankety. Maybe there's not so very much the matter with this engine after all. Suppose you take your oiler and oil all the places that might need it. So John took his oiler and oiled every spot that had a place for oil. Now fill the radiator, please, for it has been smoking all the way. John put fresh water in the radiator. John, you start her, and I will take the wheel. We will drive very gently out of the yard and along the road. I want to see for myself what is really the matter. So John started the engine. It did not say spit, bang, poof this time. It just said, rather hoarsely, now. And as the lady drove very gently down the driveway, it began to grumble, I was so dry, I was so dry, I was so dry, I was so dry. And when it came to the smooth ground, it said, feeling better, feeling better, feeling better, 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 feeling better. Pretty soon, they came to a little hill. And the children listened to hear, afraid I can't, afraid I can't. But instead, it said, let me get it, let me get it, let me get it, let me get it, let me get it. And as they went over the top of the hill, it said, I got it, I got it, I got it, I got it, I got it. Down the hill they went, and when they reached the level road, the car began to sing. It sang the pretty song it always sang when Father drove. The song of the contented automobile. It sang, The lady smiled, and the children laughed. Their beautiful car was not in bad shape, and Father would not have to be disappointed when he came home. And what do you think they did to the foolish chauffeur who drove that car 15 miles without any lubricating oil in its tank? Well, the lady said she thought a chauffeur foolish enough to do that was too foolish to have a car to drive. So she wrote Hutchins a letter and told him he could not be their chauffeur any longer, and that she would drive the car home herself. I think the automobile was glad.